Consider supporting ArchaeoSoup on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Link available in the video description. Thank you.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Oh, we're recording. This is Dispatch Delta 69 Mike Lima, Moon Recon Station, designation Glean. Forward Archaeological Assessment Unit, beginning transmission. All remote sensing units, approximately 5,000 in total, have been recalled from Earth to the Moon Recon Stations for a round of maintenance and recalibration. Though this is an opportunity to examine the archaeology of the Moon, where we have spent the past several years looking at the Earth. Of course, we all know that the Moon is simply littered with evidence of human beings, but an interesting little tidbit, I suppose some of the people on the council may find this amusing, from the digital archives we've managed to glean so far, is that approximately 50 years into the age of human space travel, the Moon had amassed 77 artifacts in total, around about 190,000 kilograms worth of material, including 96 bags of human waste and sick. Yeah, it's you know, it's an interesting adage that in archaeology, the more smelly something is, the more interesting it is, and well, we've definitely found some interesting archaeology there. Now, as far as we can tell, the early days of human activity on the Moon involved some form of game, whereby there was an attempt to send different coloured images, rectangular images, to the Moon, and to leave them there. There is some good evidence that this imagery was possibly religious or even totemistic, but the colours really are what I find most striking. Clearly these people were having fun. After all, the distance from the Earth to the Moon is relatively short, so this must have been a fairly whimsical thing, in fact, that they were doing. The digital archive that has survived indicates that much like our space sports, these were shared events. These were broadcasted for people to view. Much like the sporting events that we're accustomed to, these often had solemn opening ceremonies, followed by competitive sports, including throwing of objects, the planting of objects in the ground, and also foot races. It seems that these athletes were just starting to learn the benefits of lower gravity environments. It must have been an exhilarating time to be at the very beginning of low and even zero G sports. Now, of course, they couldn't compete with modern athletes, especially those from other worlds or the more extreme colonies. But just while I'm here, I should represent Go Gogs, my home team. We'll win next year's Intercolonial Cup, I'm sure. There is also evidence of vehicular sports, and a strange one where a spherical object is struck with a stick, seemingly never to be seen again. I'm not entirely sure what the goal of this sport might be. Perhaps it was some form of easing tension or aggression. All I can say is it looks like a good spacewalk spoiled, as far as I'm concerned. The format for delivery of coloured rectangles to the Moon became more remote for a time, with people seemingly content to slam objects into the surface of the Moon. Until, of course, as we all know from first school, humans began to settle on the Moon on a permanent basis. One of the earliest colonies was what became the Forward Archaeological Assessment Unit, Recon Station Ghana. As some of my colleagues frequently remind me, they are working in an historical environment. But I also hear it's quite cold, so I don't envy them that necessarily. I mean, they dubiously claim that it gives them some sort of insight into how our ancestors lived, or some form of experimental archaeology. But I definitely don't need to be living in some sort of ancient rust bucket, cold and leaky, and then let me just get that. Excellent. Okay, so it looks like our maintenance and recalibration protocols have completed a little ahead of schedule. Excellent. That was brilliant. Well done. So this has been a real pleasure doing some archaeology on my doorstep, shall we say, here on the moon, or rather Earth's largest moon, of course. Aside from Earth, this is probably one of the oldest and most intensively occupied sites of human activity in all of known space. It's a real pleasure to be examining this today. This has been a dispatch for the Council's consideration, Moon Recon Station Glean, signing off.